Wrong scene. Wrong scene again. Here we go. We are live. Welcome to the Loading Screen, episode number 6. Up at the top left, you will see the bald wonder of Canada, Monstrous Rage. To the top right, you will see the Angry Iceberg's Toon Self.
Yeah, I'm waving. Believe me, I'm waving.
And tonight we will be discussing a whole different mess of topics, including Nintendo NX, Mario, a little bit of Mario for you guys, and a host of other topics. Let me pull up the topics because I do not have them listed right now. So professional. This is increasingly professional, guys.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
This is pro level stuff right here. I mean, y'all don't even know.
That's right.
We're all about it.
No, learn. Dude.
Yes, Sir Mike Knight. Yeah, my camera's not working. It's being a pain in the butt for some reason. Well, basically, my camera does not like Skype. Pretty much how I feel about it too. So it is what it is.
All right, tonight's topics. Let's see. That's not tonight's topics. What the heck? That was last week's topics. Once again, that pro level's coming out, guys. There's tonight's. Okay. First topic on the docket today is the Nintendo NX. Now, you guys might have heard throughout Game Informer that the Nintendo NX has already shipped out developmental units to a lot of AAA title makers. Ubisoft has ones. There's a lot of them that have the new Nintendo peripheral. And they don't have a disk drive. It's all digital content. It's all digital. We did discuss this last time, but how do you feel about a peripheral that's all digital or mostly digital, except for maybe like an SD card purchase? How do you guys feel about that?
You know, it's the way of the future. It's the way things are going. Everybody fought digital for this generation of console, and both Sony and Xbox kind of backtracked on there. Well, Xbox publicly, but I'm sure Sony was waiting to see what would happen with the backlash to determine whether they were going to go full digital or not. People don't want to have a lot of shit in their house. They don't want to have a lot of stuff all over the place. They want to just be able to push a button and play games. And I'm one of those people that is fighting it because I like to have a physical copy of something. But at the same time, I can't fight the masses. So it's just the way it's going to be. Those of you that don't like it, you can complain and moan, but you're just going to be like me, getting it anyway and playing it.
Yep. Iceberg, how you feel about it, man?
Well, I'm kind of on the other side. Is that I really like having my games digital. I've only purchased a handful of physical copies this generation. I just don't like moving my discs around. I like having it, in a nice, easy, convenient spot. I don't have to go searching for discs. I don't have to worry about disc scratching. It's all right there for me. And everything has to be installed on the hard drive anyway. So, I mean, it's like, well, might as well just, buy it digitally. And I'm not one to trade games in. So, like, having that trade-in value has not been, is never going to be a big issue. So, but I think, like Monster said, it is the way of the future. It is going to be the way we're going to get games in the future. I think the real future is really going to be in the streaming of games. So it's all going to be digital anyway. And so it's, this is just the way that the gaming industry has evolved. And so for me, I really don't have a problem with it. Bring on the future, bring on the, the convenience that it brings, I guess.
I'm actually both sides of this fence. I'll go ahead and play the referee here because on one hand, there's some titles that I want the physical copy. I am so thankful that I still have my physical copy of the original Final Fantasy X that I got for PlayStation 2. I'm so grateful that I got my original copy of Asteroids for the Atari 2600. I'm so grateful I have that. And but on the other hand, I did go out and get Fallout. I was at the midnight launch for Fallout at my local GameStop. I was happy I was there. But I can also see, like, okay, I'm just going to pre-download the game and play it at 12:01 midnight instead of having to wait an hour and a half in line to get it. It's more of an instant gratification than it ever has before. Because prior to the PlayStation 3, there was no such thing as digital downloads. And now you're having a system where instead of having to wait an hour and a half to go pick up your title, come home 2 o'clock in the morning and playing it, you can play it at 12:01. And you don't have to worry about standing in line. You just click one button on your PlayStation 4 or your Xbox One, and you're good to go. So I can see both sides of the market. Yes, there's a lot of games that I do download digitally. I have like the digital Minecraft for PS4. I've got a few other titles for PS4 that are digital. But I also like to have hard copies of certain games like Mortal Kombat 10, Final Fantasy 10, and 10-2 Remastered. Games like that, you know, and especially I'll still go into a GameStop and shop around for physical copies of games. So I'm kind of both sides of the fence. I understand the convenience, but I understand that nostalgic effect of, you know, throwing a disc in there and having a case that you can look at and it just looks nice in your room.
Well, I have one more thing to bring up about this, money-wise.
Okay.
You can't, if it is going to go the way of digital, they can't expect the consumer to pay the same price as getting a physical copy. You don't have the manufacturing there, you don't have the packaging, you don't have any of that extra cost that you would have had to pay out, so that the consumer eats up that cost with the cost of the game. But if that cost isn't there anymore, and people say, well, it's fine, it's digital, but you still have to yourself buy physical external hard drives, because that hard drive space on those consoles can get eaten up real quick.
What I'll say about that is they still need the physical copy sales, and it actually should be at the exact same price as digital ones, because when you walk into a game store, sometimes you're not walking in with a specific game in mind. So you're kind of shopping around, browsing around for games, and they have to have physical merchandise on the shelves for you to purchase. So you have to have that presence of physical merchandise. But if it's going to be $10 more than the digital copy, why are they going to buy it?
For that physical copy.
Exactly.
For that packaging, for that disc. That's what I'm saying. If you want the physical copy, have that $10 extra expense and know that you're going to pay that $10 extra expense. But don't charge me the same price for a digital copy as a physical copy, because there's no reason for me, if I have the option to not go and buy the physical copy, because at least it's something tangible in my hands that I just spent $80 on.
Right, and plus you're paying the same amount for a physical copy. I understand that, you should be paying more for it, but you can trade that in if you don't like the game. Say you buy it day one, you don't like the game after 2 or 3 days, you can trade that game in. Yeah, you're only going to get $10, $15 for the game. Sorry about your luck. But you do have that option. But with digital, you're stuck with the game. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, but that's true. But at the same, if you go on the flip side of that, you buy the digital copy, you always have it. You don't have the ability to trade it in. Whereas the physical copy, if you don't like that game, you can at least get some money that you've invested into it back to purchase something else that you do enjoy. That's all I'm saying. I just think that they need to decrease the price if they're going to go all digital. I'm on board, but I need that price lowered.
Yeah, but I think, again, we're looking at it from the consumer's perspective. When you're looking at a company, they're wanting to push digital sales over physical sales, mainly because of that added profit. But they also, at the same time, they also have to pay for bandwidth, which, obviously is not going to be, it's going to be fairly minimal, but bandwidth and, server storage, et cetera, and they're going to have to make sure that those games are available for a considerable amount of time. And so, for that, on that respect, that's still going to be costing money. But again, they're in it to make money. They want to entice us to purchase those games. For us as consumers, yes, it would be great if we could, get a little bit of a discount, especially for me, since I buy most of mine, digitally. But the game companies honestly could care less about the physical brick and mortar stores. Really, they'd rather, like I said, they'd rather us pay, buy it digitally so they can get that little extra bit of profit. And plus, there's no middleman. They get all that money, minus whatever middleman is as far as the digital distribution of it. But also, Microsoft did try to offer some sort of program, for license transfer and whatnot, so that you could still kind of recoup some of that cost for that game, and you could trade it to your buddy or do whatever it was. So there was that, and then when they kind of announced it, everybody got all pissed because it was going to be online, all the time, and all this other stuff. And so we kind of, in that aspect of it, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with the current state of how video games are distributed and the current price point. And obviously, a product, and I've said it before and I'll say it again probably, a product is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And if we keep paying for it at these prices, they're going to keep selling it at that price. And guess what? We want these games. Some of us don't want to have to go down to the brick and mortar store to purchase these games. I don't like having all the clutter sitting around my house, so I'd just rather have it on the hard drive, and I delete the games that I don't want to play. If I want them again, I can download them. I got 100 megabytes down, or gigabytes, or whatever the fuck I got. I got all that stuff down. So I mean, it doesn't take that long to download most games, so it's really not an issue for me. So
then you also have to look at on the consumer side the internet capping that's going on. So somebody might only be able to download 6 gigs in a whole month, and any gig over that they're going to get charged $2 per gig. So those bills are going to really spike if you can only get these things digitally. Because these games now are like 40 to 60 gigs in size, and if your internet is garbage, that cable bill is going to come in at the end of the month, and you're going to go, holy shit.
Well, yeah, if they do start capping my cable, my cable's not capped. I don't have a cap, unfortunately. So, if that ever happens, then yeah, that would definitely change, my opinion on it. But right now, it's not really an issue, for me where I live. So.
You actually touched on something angry, and I know it's not in the topic list, but I want to go ahead and bring that up. It's the cost of games. We've seen inflation go by and raise the price of a gallon of milk almost twofold. Same thing with gas prices, same thing with airline tickets, movie tickets, music albums, and things of that sort. So why do you think inflation has not really hit the game market as far as core sales? They've always been around $50 to $60, even since I was a kid. And inflation really hasn't hit the game market. I think companies are actually starting to funnel some of that inflation into the DLC that they put out. They can, sell their cosmetic upgrades and things like that. Things that would used to be free back in PS2 days, because you can't exactly do that as DLC. But you see that now in the PS3 and PS4 days, where they can microtransaction and whatnot in order to recoup some of that for inflation. I feel like maybe instead of doing the DLC that way, maybe even raising the prices of games by $10. Go from 60 US to 70 US. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that you're kind of limiting your point of entry. You want to be able to get them into the game. That's why free to play is so big.
Yeah,
they make a lot of money off that.
It's because that point of entry. For those people that are willing to play the game, they're willing to fork over the money. So I mean, I think increasing the price of games is definitely not the answer. I think the way they're doing it is fairly smart. I mean, like for me, I'll generally, sometimes if I know that I'm going to get the DLC, like for Destiny, or it used to be Call of Duty, not so much anymore, but if I know I'm going to get the DLC, sure, I'll get the season pass. But for most games, I don't get the season passes. I don't get the DLC. If it's just a story-driven game, say for example, Witcher 3, I have not. I mean, I love that game. I really do, and I played it for hours, but I did not get the DLC. As I was like, well, okay, I got my story, I got my gameplay time in, I'm happy. And of course, some of that has to do with me playing Destiny so much. But the point is that I'm not forced to pay that extra cost for the game that the portions of the game that I don't want. So again, that point of entry is good enough for me. And then I had $60 for American, so you don't want to limit that.
Right. Rage.
Well, yeah, I'm actually right on board with Angry. If you increase the price of the games, you're going to have that core audience that could afford it, even if it is $10 more. Now they can't afford that game, or they're now, because of that difference, if they wanted to pick up 2 games, now they have to decide which one they want to pick up. That free-to-play model, as much as everybody complains and moans about it, for game developers, it's a cash crop. All you have to do is let people jump into the game, let them see how much fun the game is, and then say, hey, you want to get to this level? Well, you can wait 6+ hours for the timer to count down, or you can pay $1 and do it right now. And that small dollar multiple times earns that company a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And if you're interested in that game, it's a way to support the company, to help them make better games. But to charge the consumer an extra $10 to make up that extra price for inflation, the reason they're not doing it is because it would kill the market.
Right, and I actually see your point of views, and I agree with most of it. But I do think that inflation will eventually hit the video game market, because that seems like one market that hasn't quite slapped in the face yet. Because if inflation were to hit the video game market back in the 90s, we'd be seeing games going for $120 right now. Everything else has doubled in price, so why not video games? So, whenever I buy DLCs, I always keep that in mind. Like, okay, this game, is $60. Cost of inflation, maybe $80. It should be. So if I do throw in $10 for DLC that I actually really want, it might add something to the game, or just might be something cosmetic and goofy that I like. I don't really frown about it. I don't really bitch and complain about it, because honestly, they could have charged more for the game. Oh, sorry. You can hear me breathing. But
you son of a bitch.
I was hiding behind my microphone.
I am your father.
But I'm just hoping that prices do stay the same, but I hope that quality doesn't drop off because of that. Because AAA game makers, yes, they have all this money, but they do lose profit because they're selling a $60 game that might not have DLC for a year or so down the line. And then they're basically just waiting for that DLC to drop in order to see any profit from the game. So, there's that. We kind of got a little off topic here. Just an announcement, not really a topic or anything. The fact that a few weeks ago, Nintendo was rumored to be running on the Android operating system, that was a hoax. Nintendo has come out and said that it is not being run on the Android operating system, which is good for Nintendo, because I don't want them hacked like the Android market gets hacked every single day. And I'm actually glad to see that. So I'm wondering what kind of operating system they are going to use, but it's not going to be Android.
Well, I've heard that they're using the AMD chip set. I don't know if that's true or just another rumor, but as far as I know, they are. That is actually in the system.
Nice. Well, as far as the Game Informer article went, it has all modern and current up-to-date chips to rival PS4 and Xbox One. So we will see exactly what that means, if it's the same chipset or if it's a comparative chipset. But if it does run AMD, then it would be at least a comparable chipset.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Konami is going mobile. This released actually a few months ago, where Konami is starting to distance himself from AAA game titles going to consoles and really focusing on the mobile market. Games like Metal Gear Solid, Dance Dance Revolution, amongst a plethora of others, are heading to your mobile phones and tablets. How do you feel about this, Angry Iceberg?
For me, honestly, I really have to go back in time to find a Konami game that I really cared about. Aside from the very first, Metal Gear, we're talking like some of the old Konami sports games. I was really into, but
Contra.
Contra, of course. But you have to go back to the original Nintendo, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the Super NES, of course, for me
Right.
to really care about Konami. And honestly, I mean, for a company, it's not a bad move, just for the simple fact that it's large AAA production is such a gamble anymore. And the small mobile game market is such an easy market to really get into and make money for, because the price of development is so much smaller, and your return is so much bigger. So I mean, as a company, it seems like a smart thing to do. And for me, I don't play a whole lot on my phone. I do, of course, Candy Crush, but I do that when I'm at lunch or in the can. But that's about it. I mean, I don't do a whole lot of mobile games, and I sure as hell don't spend money on mobile games. So it's just not my market, but I understand why they're doing it.
With peripherals and IPs such as Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill and things of that sort, I really have a hard time seeing a mobile experience with those games. Now, Metal Gear Solid kind of went mobile with Peace Walker. That was a PSP game. It was more mobile friendly. It was kind of like a turn-based card game than anything else. But with Silent Hill and some of the other gaming peripherals that they do have, I actually find it really challenging to see what Konami is going to do if they're going to ship their new IPs or their old IPs to mobile, or if they're going to start creating brand new IPs. With the release of Hideo Kojima, they could be just rounding up a completely new creative team and going in a brand new direction. And I think we do see that with them going away from the AAA market and into a mobile market. I don't think it's a coincidence that we see Kojima leaving and then them shifting over to mobile.
A little giggle in the background. Yes, for me, I'm not a mobile gamer. Never have been, never will be. The most mobile gaming I do is the Nintendo 3DS. So yeah, I'm just not into it. But Konami, I mean, if they want to be a company remaining in business, they've got to do something. Their current path is leading down the way of Atari. It's heading down the way of Sega when they were competing against Nintendo back in the day. So if this is a way to renew that, get the younger mobile users interested in gaming, maybe bring in ports of stuff like Contra or the old Metal Gear, but I don't think that's what's going to sell their games. They're going to have to go with something new.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that they might be able to use the old IPs and make a mobile experience with them, maybe like a Metal Gear Solid trading card game, or maybe even like a Metal Gear Solid tactical or tactics game. That would probably work on a mobile device. And as far as Silent Hills, maybe making like a city builder or something along those lines. That possibly could work, or some kind of horror experience as well. But I honestly don't think that this would be a correct move for Konami as a whole, because they do have so many popular IPs that they could produce titles for down the road, especially with Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hills, which they've completely canceled, but they still own it and they won't sell it to Microsoft. So apparently they have plans for it somewhere. We just don't know what those plans are yet. So it's their decision. They've obviously thought it through. They know what they're doing. I'm just waiting to see if it's, sink or swim at this point. Right now, third-party exclusives in gaming, is it good or is it bad? With Tomb Raider going to Xbox and Black Ops having exclusives on PS4, do you think it's good to have those third-party exclusives in consoles, kind of separating Xbox One users and PS4 users? We'll start with Monsters Rage.
Exclusives are only there for pushing consoles. That's all it is. That's the only reason they exist, is to push that brand. The only people it affects are people that want to play those games and don't own the systems. The companies don't care. They don't care because they want that game to push their brand. They want that game to push their consoles, get everybody on board. Does it hurt the market? I don't think so. I mean, there's so many exclusives against all the different consoles. They all have something to grab your attention. The only people it hurts is the consumer that wants to play that game. That is the only person that is going to affect. That's it.
Iceberg.
Yeah, I think I agree. Certainly, I mean, for me, it's never been a real big issue, just because I do tend to purchase all the systems, so it's never been a big deal for me. Companies, they like making that money, they like making that guaranteed buck, and in some instances, it does kind of drive the industry forward a bit, because there is that kind of competition between the two consoles. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, I've never had a real strong opinion on exclusives. And I guess part of it, too, might have to do with the last generation. I was an Xbox guy. Before that, I was more of a PC gamer. So it's really never been a big issue in my life. So I don't really have any strong feelings either way.
Yeah, because there's no Mac exclusives now, is there?
Wait. Let's talk about early 90s, because I got a Mac, and that sucked. No games for that, man.
No, you can play Oregon Trail. All right, I don't want to hear it.
No, we're talking like Macintosh, not like Apple IIe, buddy.
Oh, okay. Back in the Stone Age.
that only sucked for you because you went and picked up a Mac.
Well, yeah. I didn't know any better back then, because that's all we had in the schools. Because it was the early 90s. Anyway, okay, moving on.
Yeah. Actually, I'll close it out by saying, I know it's to push consoles and whatnot, but I think it's more along the lines of, hey, this is what we have over here. If you have both consoles, might as well pick it up for our console first, because you'll be able to play it here first. Now, is Tomb Raider really going to sell consoles? Probably not. Will Black Ops sell consoles? More than Tomb Raider, but it's not going to be that big console push. Now, if PS4 was being released with a game like Fallout 4 or No Man's Sky, and that was exclusive to PS4, you know how many consoles would fly off the shelves at that point? It'd be insane. But these two games don't really scream console sales to me. They seem more along the lines of, oh, y'all got Tomb Raider? Okay, we're going to get Black Ops. Or the other way around. Activision, you went with Sony on this? Okay, we'll get something from Sony's library back in the day, and we'll bring it over to Xbox for exclusive. At least 6 months exclusive. So I think it's kind of posturing between the two companies. Not exactly just to see who's best, but okay, you guys took that, we'll take this. I think that's what it basically boils down to. Our next topic is, why was Mario so popular in the 90s? That I just simply wrote that. Mario was a staple for gaming for people of our generation, me, Monsters, and Angry Iceberg. And Mario was just kind of in our households for a long time. And, breaking down Mario, what really made it so popular? We'll start with Rage.
Well, back when Mario first came out, it was back in the day when we still had arcades. Do we still have arcades? Do those things still exist? Do people go there and...
Yes, I have an arcade in my hometown that people still pour quarters into Street Fighter.
Excellent. We need to support that. But
I do.
Yeah, back in the day, we had stuff like... what? Asteroids, Centipede, Pac-Man, and these Dig Dug.
Defender.
I like Dig Dug. Defender. But these were the games that you would go to the arcade and play. And Nintendo brought out this console that would let you play arcade games in your house. And because it was the flagship, Mario was included with that. So anybody that picked up a Nintendo would get that game included with the system. So I think that's what started the Mario train, because nobody paid for that game. It was just included with the hardware that you had to pick up. And at that time, the amount of money it cost for the hardware, you really didn't have the cash to buy 2 or 3 games with it. So you were pretty much stuck with that game for a good 3 or 4 months before you went out and got something else. So
yeah.
I think that's what got everybody involved in Mario back then. This generation now, the younger generation, I have no idea what draws them in, but for me, that's what it is, and that's what still brings me back to Mario today, is what I experienced as a kid.
Well, let me tell you a little story. You're talking about the Super Mario Brothers pack-in with the Nintendo. Let me tell you a little story. When I was a wee lad and I had my paper route, saved up for a few months to get I can't remember how many months, it seemed like forever, to get that Nintendo and have money for a few extra games. And I sent the money with my mom to go when she was going out of town on a little business trip to pick it up, because there was no place anywhere near me that we could pick one up. So she had orders to pick me up, the Nintendo and a few extra games, whatever. So she comes back home, and after a few days, what seemed like an eternity, and said, "I'm sorry, son. They were all out of Nintendos at the store, but I did pick up these 3 games for you, so just at least you get a start." The first game was Top Gun. The second game was Section Z. You remember that one? And the third game that she handed to me that she purchased with my money was Super Mario Brothers. I lost my shit. Not in a good way. I yelled at her. I was like, "Mom, they sell these with the console." I just chewed her up and down. And she was like, "No, son, no. What are you talking about? This, whatever." And I was like, "No, Mom, they come with the console. Why did you buy it?" Anyways, so I'm all pissed off. And she's like, "Oh, just cool your jets. Just go out to the car. I forgot a couple things out of the car. You can go grab them for me." And of course I go out there, and what's sitting in the trunk of my mom's car but a Nintendo Entertainment System. And I started losing my shit in a good way. Okay, so what ended up happening was that in my system that I got, there was not a Super Mario Brothers pack-in. It was actually a dumb strategy guide. Like, it was that there was no game pack-in. So my mom did the right thing by purchasing Super Mario Brothers. But for why that game was so special is because it's just simply good mechanics. It's a simple mechanics. It's easy to pick up, hard to master. It was just a good game that you could play over and over again. And, and you talked about it with your friends. I finally got it. You found about the warp zones and all the different little secrets. And, can you jump over the flag? It was just a great game. And when it continued into the 90s, they just improved on what was already a great game with even better game mechanics. So, I mean, it was an icon, for us growing up. There was the cartoon, we had the cereal, and we grew up with Super Mario Brothers, man. And so again, it all just boils down to it was a great game, and that's why it was so popular.
Well, for me, bonding over the Super Nintendo with me and my brother, that's what makes Mario special for me. The tune whenever Mario comes on in Super Mario World, and you have the really picked up music from the first few levels and whatnot. Me and my brother used to bond over video games, especially Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo. We had raced the 150cc Rainbow Bridge all day long, and we just always had a blast with it. And I believe Mario set forth a new generation of gamer where we had, a childlike experience with Mario, but we got to grow up with Mario in the form of Mario 64 for the N64. Then we saw the GameCube Mario games with Mario Sunshine, even though not many of us played Mario Sunshine. And then even with the Wii, we had the Mario parties and things like that. And then Super Smash Brothers kind of reintroduced that for us. Not everybody played Super Smash Brothers that played the old Mario games, but it was a subtle revive to the franchise. And now we see the Mario games like Super Mario Maker, the new Mario Kart that came out, and games like that. It's bringing that nostalgia back for us. So I believe that's why it's so popular right now, as opposed to where it was maybe 25 years ago when it was just coming out and it was still popular. But it's not as, Mario's not a household name 25 years ago as it is today.
Yeah, but I would say that Mario is still going strong now. I mean, even this past week, I went through the Wii New Super Mario Brothers game that was just like the good old classic, and the Wii U version. Played both of them. I think we did it in 4 streams, just casually going through it. And it's just as much fun to play those games as it is to play the games when I was a kid. So I think Mario is still going strong. I think that franchise is not going to die out, especially with the new Nintendo system coming out. They're going to push out Mario games left, right, and center, just like they always have, just like they always will. That is their bread and butter. That and Zelda, and they might bring back Star Fox, and that might be a thing with the new generation. But yeah, Mario will always be around.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think Mario will ever go anywhere. I do want it to be revitalized, maybe a brand new 2D Mario, but for a few, like maybe the Nintendo NX, where you could have that 2D Mario feel, kind of like Mario Maker, where you have like the Super Smash or the Super Mario Brothers for Wii U. Was it? They had a new Smash, or not a Smash Brothers, but a
Melee.
Yeah, they had Melee and whatnot, and then they had the original type of game, Super Mario Brothers U, I believe it was.
Yep, that's what that's what I actually was broadcasting a couple days ago.
Yeah,
and it's fantastic. I've got nothing wrong. There's nothing that I can say that will make that game less playable for anyone. I've got nothing but good things to say about it. If you like platforming games, play it. It's that simple. And they, like Angry said earlier on when we started this, the mechanics just work. They're perfect. They're in tune. You do a jump, your character's going to jump. You're going to run, the character's going to run. It just works perfectly.
Yeah. I am trying to... There it goes. I finally changed the freaking title of the freaking broadcast. I've been trying for like the last 10 minutes as soon as I saw it. And, yeah, I've been paying attention. Don't worry, guys. I don't leave you guys out at all.
Oh, my God. It changed.
Yeah, it changed finally.
I'm not playing Fallout anymore.
Yeah, we're not playing Fallout right now. Actually, Fallout's not even on the docket for the first time in 2 weeks, which is quite exciting, actually. But another title or another topic that we do have is PlayStation. Sony has announced officially that they are working on titles to be backwards compatible for PlayStation 2. Now, this would also mean that most titles from PlayStation 1 will also work on the PlayStation 4 systems. Now, the PlayStation 4 did ship with an emulator inside. They're just working out the kinks on the software. How do you guys feel about that, and do you think it's going to work?
Oh, I'm sure it'll work. I mean, they'll get it to work. I mean, just like Microsoft says, there's not going to be any backwards compatibility, but guess what? They're just like, okay, well, we'll do it. Microsoft also said that they had to have the Kinect for the box to work, and they went back on that. I mean, these people are smart. I mean, the reason why they didn't have backwards compatibility before is because they wanted to sell their streaming service. It's as simple as that. Now, Microsoft came out and made their 360 library backwards compatible, and obviously not all of them are currently, but most of them will be eventually. So I think it's just a reaction to that. I think they're in competition with Microsoft. They know they are. They saw that people want the backwards compatibility that Microsoft was able to provide, and I think they realized that how simple it was for Microsoft to do it. And they're like, well, our machine is just as powerful, if not more powerful. We could do it too. And so it's, again, I mean, it's I don't know what's going to happen to their streaming service now, but Sony as a company is a mess. But PlayStation. The PlayStation, area of, or what the hell am I thinking? The division of it, there we go, is in really good shape. So they have to make sure, they need to cling on to what's working. And if people want, backwards compatibility, then that's what they're going to get. And, while PlayStation's demolishing the Xbox worldwide, the Xbox still, at least in the United States, did outsell PlayStation last month. So
it did. Indeed it did. Rach?
Sure. sure. I mean, the backwards compatibility, that's fine. If people haven't experienced an older title that isn't being remastered for the next generation console, there's a lot of games that I have that would be fun to redo. But I mean, I've got the old system, so for me, it really doesn't matter. But for somebody that hasn't played, like, somebody who's, I think this is geared towards a younger audience. I think it's geared towards people that might be between the ages of 10 and 15 right now. There's a lot of games that came out back in the day that they just weren't alive for. So for them to revisit games that an older generation played, that's fine. But for me, I don't care either way. I've got all the consoles, so if I want to play an older game, I'll just play it. But for the younger generation, I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to see where games came from, so you appreciate where they are now.
Back in my day,
when I had to traipse 5 miles in the snow.
both ways to get to school, right? Uphill, with no shoes. But as of right now, it does say PlayStation 2 emulator, but the PlayStation 2, if you do remember, played PlayStation 1 games. So I'll be waiting to see if you can also play PlayStation 1 games on that emulator as well. There's a bevy of titles that I'd like my PlayStation 2 games to be put on my PlayStation 4. Just off the top of my head, Dark Cloud 2, some of the older Final Fantasies like Final Fantasy 12 and things of that sort. Things that will not be remastered, I'd like to kind of play on my PS4. I do have a PS2. I have it hooked up to my big TV. I actually have 2 in the house right now. I have one in my room and then one in here. But I always like to play nostalgic games. Like 3 days, 4 days out of the week, I'll be sitting behind my big TV playing Super Mario Brothers on the Super Nintendo, or I'll be playing F-Zero, or I'll be playing the original Metal Gear Solid on PS1. Just for fun. I always love it. I always have a good time. If they make that streamlined for PS4 use, I'd love it, because I don't have to start switching out cables and cords and whatnot. It'll be a more streamlined experience. And I think the fact that their streaming service for the PS3 games, how much that bombed, is the real driving force behind them using this emulator finally. I think this was kind of their plan B, their backup, because it was always in the system. It shipped with the day one systems. So I think the streaming service, they're like, wait, hold up, let's not use that emulator just yet. Let's not mention backwards compatibility. Let's try a streaming service out, see if we can get a few bucks off of this. And if we can, we'll run with it. But with the massive failure that it is, I believe Sony is just kind of canned that idea. They're going to take down the streaming service, and they're just going to say, hey, we have backwards compatibility for PS2 and PS1. Now, PS3, I don't know. I don't think that the PS4 would have that type of hardware, because when you do use their streaming service, you're using the streaming service itself to play the game. So I don't know if they have the emulation for the PS3 on the PS4. But, I mean, that remains to be seen. I want to see it because I have a lot of games I want to play on it. What about you? You guys have any games you guys want to play on the PS4?
I mean, like I said, I've got everything already with the other consoles here. So for me to... I can see your point there for streaming purposes. It'd be nice to just be able to pop it in and use the same console for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of that, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2 both had that switch for streaming live content. It would disallow it. So how is that going to be corrected when they switch over? If it's an emulator, it's still going to have all that code in place, correct?
It should. It should have that code in.
So if all that code is in place, then you're not going to be able to stream that anyway, because it's going to block it on you.
Oh, that's true.
The HDMI switch, or not the HDMI, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Acronym.
The video copyright encoder. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah.
That prevents us from that. Just the way you guys know, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, that prevents you from going on like Netflix, WWE Network, and things like that. But that prevents you from streaming those things on Twitch and on like Ustream and things like that. So where we can't share that content.
Yep.
Let's see. I believe that's it. We're going to round up by just mentioning maybe games that you'd like to see revivals for. games that you might want to see remastered, or you might want to see a sequel of a game that's 10 years in the past or whatnot. Is there any games like that for you guys? Let's start with Rage.
I would. This game is recent, but I would love to have an HD remake of the Stick of Truth for Xbox One or PlayStation 4, any one of them. I would love to play that again on the new generation consoles. I'm sure there's South Park fans out there, but that game I was in tears at parts of that game. Just in tears because I was laughing so hard. What?
Rage, good news. You can.
Can you?
Stick of Truth you can play on the Xbox One.
You can play it on Xbox One now.
Yep.
Oh, guess what? I might be streaming soon.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me, honestly, looking back, I don't have a whole lot of games that I really would feel like an HD remake. I guess the one I talk about fairly often is, there was a little bit of a tendency or a trend, I should say, with like bundle games or remastered bundles like the Uncharted or Master Chief, the collections. And what I'd like to have seen is really some of those older Call of Duty games, Call of Duty 4. I mean, if they were to remaster Call of Duty 4 and put it on the new systems, I would play that. And some of the older ones that, the Advanced Warfare, Modern Warfare 2, 3, Black Ops. I was more into Black Ops 2, but why not Black Ops 1? Just if you were to bundle that series of games together in a in a remastered situation, I would totally probably purchase that. Other than that, man, like there's really nothing else that I could really think of. Like I could go back to Half-Life, but they did that with the Orange Box, when they brought that back. So.
And certain games back then, you just don't want to be remade. You just want to play them in their original form.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So.
A few games that I'd like to see be remade. They're somewhat obscure PlayStation 2 titles, so I doubt they'll ever see the light of day. But Zone of Enders 1 and 2, that's a fascinating series. I enjoyed the heck out of it back when I was a kid. I still have them. Dark Cloud 1 and 2. The dungeon crawling town building RPG that defines cell shading for me. Same with Dragon Quest. We don't see a whole lot of Dragon Quest anymore. I'd like to see that franchise revitalized by Square Enix. Some of the older Final Fantasies. I know Final Fantasy VII does have a remake on the way. We don't have a timetable when that's coming out. But, some of those games as well. Morrowind, some of the older Elder Scrolls games might do well with an HD remaster or remake, or at least just a port to the PlayStation or gaming consoles in general, because Morrowind was more or less a PC game. You had Diablo 3 come to consoles, and you saw success with that. A lot of people like to play Diablo 3 on the console. I think some of the older PC titles might actually do very well on consoles these days. Not games like SimCity, where it's a slower building game, but maybe some of the older RPGs, maybe even revitalizing EverQuest 2, games like that.
All right, if we're going to go EverQuest, I will say this, Kid X. Where is our next Leisure Suit Larry?
Oh, dear God.
I think that the Leisure Suit Larry kind of jumped the shark with, what was it, Summa Cum Laude or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last one was terrible.
It was horrible.
I think we might remember Leisure Suit Larry in a much better light than it really was. I mean, I remember playing Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards on the old Apple II.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the few games. I mean, and I remember having to do the little quiz to prove that you were 18.
Mm-hmm.
That you could pretty much just, even if you failed, you just got to keep doing it until you finally passed.
Yeah.
Answer.
Same questions, but Leisure Suit Larry. Yeah, no thanks. I could just go.
I just had to bring a random one in.
So
Yeah.
don't need that.
As far as PC games as well, I'd love to see Monsters Rage play Postal 2. That game has an AO rating for a reason.
just get to lose my mind.
And then you get to pee on everything afterwards, which is quite hilarious.
That's sold right there. Sold.
Yeah, it pretty much is. I believe that's all the topics we have for tonight. It's a bit of a shorter one, actually. We got up and running decently late, but not horribly late. Dang.
Technical issues, people. They have.
Yeah, and coughing. That happens too. Oh, Paperboy. Master Chief just said in the chat, Paperboy. I'd like to see. I'd actually like to see a console make of Paperboy, maybe as a casual, $4 purchase online or digitally. But I kind of like to see.
Made with Connect in play. I think we should have people running in place to.
No,
Oh,
that's HoloLens and that's HoloLens and
until virtual reality.
Yeah.
Virtual, that's when the Paperboy, you're sitting there like swinging your arms and knocking shit over.
That's when your kid finishes playing the game and you say, you can get an actual paper route and make money. You can actually do this. You don't have to play it. You can make money off of it.
Yeah, that's why I always make fun of my brother for his farming simulator addiction, because we grew up in rural North Dakota. He could have literally got that as his job if he wanted it. I mean, all the same stuff, riding the tractors, all that crap. So yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to see somebody like sit or standing up in their living room, pedaling a bike with a Project Morpheus or a HoloLens on, playing Paperboy, or maybe even a Pokemon title with that peripheral. That'd actually be kind of strange and unusual. I know Pokemon has gone in a mobile route with Pokemon Go. They're doing something along the lines of virtual reality where you can see the Pokemon with your mobile device. I think that's going to be a very niche game. It might be popular with the under 18 crowd, or maybe a few adults with some nostalgia to hang on to for Pokemon. But I don't see that having, any legs as far as a popular title. Let's see. I think that's about it. New game that's coming out December 4th. You guys are going to be able to see, I believe it's Far Cry 4 that's coming out December 4th.
What?
Far Cry 4.
Yeah, I believe
Didn't I already buy that a year ago?
Yeah, that's a new game?
No, it's not Far Cry. It's something else.
I would hope so.
Something is coming December 4th.
Rainbow Six Siege coming out? Is that one? Or when's that one coming out? Because I know they're doing an open beta right now.
I think that's the 6th of December.
That's
around there.
that's the 6th. It's.
Oh, you're
It's
thinking?
not-
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Just Cause.
Just Cause 3.
There you go.
There we go. Just Cause 3. I get the two mixed up. I'm sorry about that. To me, it's almost the same kind of game. But I fully played Far Cry, so I don't know Just Cause.
Yeah, I've never played Just Cause.
Yeah. I know English and no brain right now. So I believe that's it. Do you guys have any other topics you want to bring up, Rage and Angry?
No, but I think future podcasts we should talk about the new VR stuff. So maybe write that down.
Oh, next podcast, when I have more technical specs, we will have a full podcast on VR.
That's right, people. Not only do you see us in 2D, pretty soon you're going to see us in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, we're going to be holograms raiding your fridge, eating your foods.
What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
Your cheese is mine. All your cheese belongs to us. Anything from you, Angry?
No.
Nope.
I'm just sitting there just thinking about all the different applications for virtual reality, and again, I don't really want to bring it up right now, because if we're going to do a whole show on it, we got to make sure we can fill some air. But just thinking about how it's going to work with Twitch integration. So anyway,
That's going to probably be one of the main topics in that podcast. So make sure you stay tuned next week when we will actually dive into that. That will be next week's podcast. We will dive into virtual reality and be jumping out of the computers and mobile devices into your living rooms. All right. Let's go ahead and close it out. Monsters Rage, where can we find you? When can we see you? And what are you doing?
6 days a week you can find me, twice a day, Everything is on my channel, Twitch TV/Monstrous Rage, all lowercase, all one word. And yeah, I play everything: PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Wii U, PC, all across the board. Even some of the older consoles, especially now that they're doing the good old backwards capabilities. So yeah, you want to come in, see some games? That's what I do. Games, variety of games, lots of games. That's what I do. And we're starting a YouTube thing, but that's still in the works. So Twitch, come see me at Twitch. See me at Twitch.
All right, Iceberg. Where can we find you? When can we find you? And what can we find you doing?
Well, I play one game. I don't play lots of games. I play one game. That game is Destiny. I do it every single day. Dear Lord, I've played it every single day for over 4 months, going on 5 months soon, except for one day. I missed one day. I'm sorry. Nobody really remembers that day. I do. It burns in my skull. Anyway, I do play Destiny every single day. You can stop by. I do play NHL every once in a while, but mostly Destiny. You can come by at twitch.tv/angry_iceberg. Usually during the week, it's more towards the evening from about 6 p.m. Eastern on until it's time for me to go to bed, whatever time that ends up being. And then on the weekends, I usually get in Friday. I try to get on by about 2 o'clock Eastern if I can. Otherwise, it's right around that 4 o'clock Eastern time on Friday. Saturday is about the same, about 2 o'clock Eastern. And Sunday also, depending on what football game is playing, it's either 2 o'clock Eastern or a little bit later. Let's see what else we got going on. I got my Twitch or Twitter. You want to make sure you come on and check me out on Twitter. Twitter is @angry_iceberg, so just like my Twitch account. You can also find me on Facebook. I have my my Facebook page, which is The Angry Iceberg. You can also find information on joining the Major Ragers clan for Destiny. It is a PS4 and Xbox clan that you can join. You can go to the Bungie site and search us out there. Also, if you go to my Twitch page, there are banners associated for the Facebook community as well as the clan on Bungie, just direct links, so you can check it out there. So make sure you stop by the Twitch, hit that follow. I will be doing, and by the way, guys, I have a few shout outs here to go. I want to make sure I want to shout out my community. You guys are amazing, and that of course includes KDX Gaming and Monstrous Rage for the help that you guys have given me to reach 1,000 followers in my first 4 months. Thank you so much for the regulars. There's some in the chat right now, of course. We got Master Chief, B-Boys in there, Dark Light, Wook Plays, Angels in there. So all you guys rock site. Thank you so much for making Twitch such a pleasure, and everybody else is watching on the playback. Also, I want to say thanks to my mods who do an amazing job keeping the chat going, and just weeding out the people that need to be weeded out. And I do want to say an extra special thank you to Big Mike, who has done a fantastic job, really stepped up recently and made the stream a whole lot better. And the last thing I want to mention, in celebration of that 1,000 followers, I will be doing a 24-hour stream starting Thursday morning. So yes, during Thanksgiving, be spending this Thanksgiving with my Twitch family, starting either at 10 or 11 o'clock Eastern. You can be looking for me and running it through Thursday and going to Friday morning, of course. And we'll be doing a lot of raids, doing a lot of stuff with the Twitch family. So stop by if you get a chance. I understand if you can't, you get family stuff. That's understandable. It is Thanksgiving and after that. But, when you're done watching football and eating turkey and taking a nap, come on and stop by twitch.tv/angry_iceberg. Okay, I'm done.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
24 hours.
Breathe in, breathe out.
It'll be my third one. I know I'll be regretting it Friday morning. Come by the stream and see how much I'm complaining about how I hate my life.
That's the best time. Come at the beginning, come around the middle, and then come near the end. The end is the train wreck. It's awesome to watch.
Make it a shot stream where you have to take shots for every follower during the stream. You'd have alcohol poisoning by hour 18.
Oh, dude. Well, you should. Okay, so if you want to see shots, you go check out my video. I do have my videos archived. Go watch last Saturday's stream where I was doing, made the 1,000 followers. It actually ended up getting split. I don't know how that happened, but you'll see me at the end. I was pretty trashed.
Nice.
But no, yeah, 24-hour stream with shots is rough. I mean, I could probably be convinced of it if with the right convincing.
Do it.
Yeah, no. I just if I'm gonna make it, if there's no drinking involved.
Right. Well, you guys are right here. You guys are at KDX Gaming, Twitch stream dedicated helping you in game and in life. Every day I'm streaming for a charity. This month is Twitch Helping Twitch, where we gather donations and we just give that to a small streamer that might need that small push in order to give him a bit more success. I stream daily. The only time I don't stream during the day is Tuesdays, because I do have my podcast in the evenings. I do like to spend time with the family. I do have the family in town for Thanksgiving, so kind of like to do that as well. But I love seeing everybody in the chat. I stream from 4 p.m. Eastern Time till about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are playing Fallout 4 right now, and we're having a blast doing so. Have some great tunes, have some great laughs, and have some great fun. And I believe that's all. You can follow me at KDX Gaming at Twitter. I always tweet out some cool streamers that you need to go check out, including the Monsters Rage and the Angry Iceberg. There are a few others that I'd like to shout out. Rocksight, he is a new mod to me. He comes in, mods my stream as well. Want to give him big props for coming in and helping me do that. I also want to shout out Monsters Rage and Angry Iceberg. Without them, this podcast would just be me staring at you guys all day. And I know you guys don't want to see that. So thank you both for coming into the podcast. Love you guys both being here. You guys do have the gift gab, and I do appreciate that. And I love it. I love doing this. I love talking to you guys. I love talking gaming, and I love interacting with the chat as well. So I believe that's going to wrap everything up for KDX Gaming, Monsters Rage, and Angry Iceberg. This has been the loading screen. And as always, keep calm